I'll get going. So it says QB development on here. I gotta tell you, it's a little bit, it sort of is, but when Matt Perkins talked to me, and I'm Mark Soehren, by the way, head coach Dr. Bill's Conference High School. He asked kind of like, well, how do you build confidence in your quarterback? Like, what did you had these quarterbacks come through, and they just continued to produce. And I guess I hadn't really thought of that, and like I guess that's sort of true. So I just sort of put together like what is it that we do to make sure that every year, you know, the most important position that they can produce and they can make plays every year. So feel free to email or send or give my cell, give me a text or call, whatever, if you want anything, need anything, happy to help. Happy to talk football. So I say, what are presenting today? I'd say what I'm not doing. Like, I'm not talking about throwing mechanics, I'm not talking about reading coverages, I'm not talking about pass game philosophies, a little bit about practice drills, but really those aren't things that I was going to talk about. I'd really say, like, we'll talk a little bit about our youth program. I will say, in general, I think this is sort of common. It's hard to get quarterbacks. It's hard to get kids to play quarterback. I don't know why. It used to be they wanted to play. So, you know, talk about the youth program a little bit. This is probably the majority of what we're going to talk about this. How do we adapt our scheme to our QBs? And I'm going to go through the last 4 QBs we've had. You know, we'll talk about our practice designs a little bit, you know, how I communicate a little bit, and what I look for in those guys, in the quarterbacks. So our youth program is all in-house, actually, and I didn't start it. But we start we go K through 6. K2 is all skills. They just go and they screw around. And they have fun. They might have a couple games at the end of the year, but that's it. 3-4, we go 9 men, so a quarter of the field. So we set out cones, one half the field, and we half that. And it's 9-man football, and you know, you play 4 quarters, whatever. There's 2 teams going at the same time. And we typically have 4 to 5 teams every year. You know, we have enough kids, and we have 4 to 5 teams. They and they just play, I think they play 6 weeks, I think it is. You get a couple of practices. And they do 2 practices a week, right? And no special teams in it. And it's tackle, right? So, I mean, it used to be, it was flag with pads, so you could block. Another coach came in and made a tackle, and I just didn't want to fight the parents going back to the flag. I would do flag, but that's why I would say it that way. And then 5-6 is 11-man full field. They play, well, they used to play on actually a varsity field. We usually have 4 teams every year. Sometimes there's 3. We have 3 practices a week. They have special teams in there. We've eliminated kickoffs, but otherwise, and then we make them kick special teams, kick extra points at least in the beginning of the year. They have to at least try. So, and really what happens with this in-house thing, and then they do playoffs. So they play everyone 3 times, twice. So they have 6 games, and then they have playoffs. And the kids love it. It's been great. My kids, my own boys have come up through it, and it's fun. And really, you know, you got 4 teams, you got at least 4 quarterbacks, usually 8, right? So you're developing these kids over time. You know, we kind of had the luxury to have this in-house. I wouldn't say it solves all our problems, but it's good. You know, the middle school, we usually have about 20 to 25 per class. In middle school, we get a few kids that never played before. So you get up to maybe 30, 35 kids, and then they start to, you know, quit and do other things, and other things. Now, I do keep 7th and 8th grade separate. We don't move up better kids. We don't try to win those games. Of course, the coach is trying to win the game. That's not the purpose. Like we create teams within their group and try to create leaders. Like, okay, these are our 7th and 8th grade quarterbacks. These are 7th grade quarterbacks that are going to lead 7th grade teams, right? We don't bump up down. Now, if a team needs some help, numbers-wise, we'll do that. But otherwise, we don't. And I should say, I don't have it on here, but we have a freshman program. And those freshmen do not practice, of course. They have 2 coaches. There's usually 15 to 25 kids on the team, and they are separate. And I can tell you, it's a big piece, I think, for what we do. It makes my practices, you'll see, we'll talk about later, a little bit harder on the varsity end. But you've got quarterbacks down there. They have their own pecking order. And Rick and I started bowling together. And what I really noticed when we did that is that these kids came from a middle school rec program, and then they went to double sessions with bearded men, right? These 9th graders. And that was hard. That was a lot. And so our freshmen come in, and they don't do double sessions. We start, but they only have 1 practice in the morning. It's up to the coaches, morning or evening. And then, I don't know, I think it helps with retention. We lose a lot of kids from 9th to 10th grade. And I don't know what the solution is to that, but we lose a lot of kids. And I try to encourage all my coaches to play 2 quarterbacks. And I'm as competitive as anyone. I want to win, but really what I want these guys to do is develop players. And that's the goal. I mean, it's hard for them sometimes, I get it, because they want to win, but I really like them to develop people. So I went back and looked. I've been, I don't know, 11 or 12 years at Oxford Hills. When I first got there, I was a triple option guy, and I love triple option still. But I knew I was having this kid, Colton Carson, come up through, and I'll get to him in a second. But I didn't have a quarterback. I took a wide receiver and made him a quarterback. Then I had a good athlete, and I actually switched to a spread team because I knew what was coming. My sons were quarterbacks. I had nothing to do with that, by the way. They just ended up being quarterbacks, and I knew they were coming up through. Probably not going to be triple option guys, so we went to a spread. And it ended up like wide receiver is his quarterback, athletes is quarterback, another wide receiver who actually turned into a decent quarterback. And so we ended up being a spread team, which it does inform what we're doing next. And so, we go back to 2016. This is the wide receiver that really became a decent quarterback. Now, you can see as we go here, like the passing yardage goes up. And this is red because when I got here, I finally I went air raid as far as the passing game goes. Now, we're not pure air raid by any means. We don't practice necessarily like them. But I needed a system just for me and calling plays and installing things. And you can see, I think it was very helpful as we moved up. Now, this year, with the Carson kid, who is an absolute beaut, or was, it still is. He plays college baseball, but 33% is not very good. we were more of an I team at this point. So, we were spread, we went to I, or I think we were I. Actually, we won one touchdown the whole year, the passing. So, we didn't throw a whole lot. And you can see, the thing I look at too is more is what am I getting yards per attempt? So, it typically got better as we went on, and I would say better quarterbacks. There's some good ones in there. I think better coaching actually is what happened. All right, so here's my quarterbacks. Now I had Colton Carson, who was a 6'6", 200-pound kid, and he was a deal. Right? He is currently a D1 pitcher at Maine. He was a Class A North Player of the Year. Of my last 4 quarterbacks, the 3 out of 4 have been Class A North Player of the Year. Right? And that year, when he was a junior, I had a really fast running back who was in the I before, and I was like, okay, he'll be the centerpiece of my offense. And he was injured and just wasn't quite the player I thought he was. And so that coaching decision didn't work out great, but then I'm like, what am I going to do next year? Oh, Colt was going to be my centerpiece. And so really what he was he was a running center. He could throw, but and he had a gun, but he wasn't super accurate. But he was all that. He actually didn't get nominated for the Fitzy because I had no idea. I've never had a player. I didn't know I had nominated. So he probably would have been finalist. He was that good. So this, we went to the regional final with him, lost in overtime to Portland doing the state championship. We were runners up in the regional final. That was kind of our first sort of really very good time. So the next year, we went to my son. Now, he was 5'9", 145 pounds. So we went from 6'6", 200, that's probably conservative, to 5'9", 145. So we clearly couldn't do the same thing. Now he's currently 6'2", 200 pounds. I wish I had him. He's a Division I track javelin thrower at Penn. And he grew senior year, but that was his COVID year. So, I had to change. I wasn't going to change my whole offense, so I had to change sort of what we were doing with it. Now we had a good running back, tough kid, with a decent throwing quarterback. And so we'll have some film at the end, which I'm just going to show some of the plays in our offense. You can see some of the things that we've taught him. So then I got Elias Soehren. If you didn't know, he won the Fitzy last year, not this year, but the year before. Right? He was a 2-year starter for me as well. Colton was a 2-year starter for me. I went back to 6'2", 210. Now, I'll be honest with you, his junior year, I didn't know he was going to be as good as he was. We kind of, just for a spread team, I knew he was a pretty good quarterback. But he ended up winning Fitzy. He was a 2-time Player of the Year. He's now Colby. He was a 4th-string QB, but he was starting punter, so this year. And then he got injured second game. But with him, he really could do anything I asked him to do. he averaged almost 10 yards a carry, 200 yards a game throwing. There's a lot of things he did for me that I didn't coach. He just did it. And then this year, once he left, went back to Brady Truman. So he's decently athletic, 5'11", 170 pounds. He was the co-player of the year this year. He was a semifinalist, and he really has a nice arm. Not a runner. I think he could be. He just didn't believe it. It just wasn't his thing. And so he did a great job for us. Now, I will say some of the stuff I did when younger. That's him when he was little, and his brothers, like that first quarterback was his oldest brother. So he's been around the program. His parents are involved in the program. So we had some quarterback stuff we did with the youth. We haven't done that for a couple of years, but I think part of that, his dad, which I saw just before this, was on Wednesday. He's like, he really felt like that part mattered, like having those kids there at that age, even though I don't think they learned much. They had some fun, and they saw me, as part of the bigger picture. So, when I'm looking at quarterbacks, and this year, I have a sophomore who wants to be quarterback, and he's just a finger pointer. He's a blamer. And I said, "You're selfish. You can't be my quarterback if you're selfish. You got to quit pointing fingers. You have to be accountable, right? And you have to be the most unselfish guy out there." And I will say, this is another piece. I don't think there's a lot of things we do in RCFLs that are just so groundbreaking. I really don't. Of course, we all steal from people and do whatever. But I just got to a point, kind of when Colton started, that I just wanted to coach kids that I liked, that I liked being around. That doesn't mean I like every kid a lot. But if they were selfish, I didn't cut them, but they didn't like playing for me. And I didn't do it on purpose. I'm not trying to run one kid out. But the way I run the program is like, you're not doing this right. You're out. And I will tell you, I would play with 11 guys. I really would. I would tell you, this year we had 30 guys in the roster. Right? We went from winning state championship with about 40, 45 kids down to 30. And I had kids try to come out late. I don't allow kids out after double sessions. Maybe Wednesday, Thursday, depending on the situation. I had some kids try, I didn't want to play, but I want to play. I'm sorry, you try next year. And I knew we were in a number situation. I knew it was an issue. Some very, really good athletes I didn't want to play. And I'm okay with it. But what has happened is it's really created a really nice culture within the team, and they really care about each other, and then we talk about trust, and it builds a lot of trust between one another. And that really changed a lot. So, anyways, that's sort of a side thing, but that's the piece with the quarterback has to be most unselfish. And I can tell you, even like this year, Brady, who, I like Brady a lot. When he was younger, he was a finger pointer. It was always someone else's fault. He's a smart kid, too, and probably even half the time it was. But we sort of like, you can't do it, right? We got better, and it was nice that he got to see Elias, who's probably the most unselfish player I've ever been around. But you can change him to a certain extent. Now I know, this piece I think is pretty big for me. Know your quarterback, right? How are they motivated? So Colton Carson and Elias are intrinsically motivated. They genuinely do not care what you think about them. Like you can yell at them and they're like, okay. It doesn't matter, right? When I had Brady and my other son, Atticus, if you yelled at them, it didn't go well. So what's the motivation? Atticus, as good an athlete as he is, he just needs that external validation, right? So he needs to know that the coaches believe him. And same with Brady. So, these things I get into, like, Colton could probably do 1 to 2 reads, right, when he was throwing. Atticus, he might be able to get to his third piece of his progression. Elias could probably do anything. He could get to his fourth. I got some plays, I'll show you where he got to his fourth. That's the other thing I started, when I got to the red, I started RPOs. So I love the triple option. I went to RPO, and we are an RPO team. And then I would prefer to run ball. I was a quarterback, I love throwing. And I can tell you, my best quarterbacks have kind of been throwers, but really, we're a run-based team. And then I always ask them, what's your favorite play? What is your go-to play? Because when you get down to it, I just need to know what they feel most confidence in. So I try to communicate with them and ask them and talk to them about those things. So what do I want? You know, like, do they make plays? Do they throw on time? Right? Can they throw with anticipation? Which I think is a little bit, I don't know what to say. Like we did break down some things, this about 2 or 3, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Said like, what do you need to be able to do as a player to start for varsity, for Oxford Hills? And then what do you need, what do you need to win a championship? And so kind of 2 basic skill sets. And I would say, you know, throwing with anticipation, you can win a lot of games just throwing on time. You know, throwing anticipation, that's how you win a state championship, right? Can they extend plays? That, you know, it depends. You know, how many options can they get to, right? And can they run the ball? And, you know, Colton, of course, run. Eli can run. Atticus was 5'9", he 145. He actually did get injured after 17 because he was so small. And then Brady was a runner. So if you can run him, I would run your quarterback. It's just such an unfair advantage. Now, the non-negotiables, right, you have to be coachable. I've seen so many guys that are strong arm that look like a quarterback. They throw a beautiful ball 7-on-7, and then they get a little rush and their eyes drop. And it's over. When their eyes drop is right when everyone's breaking open. So their eyes drop, they move, they look up again, they're covered, they're open, and eyes drop, and then they're covered. Right? So, and then are they consistently afraid of the rush? I can tell you, like at times, I don't think Elias was afraid of the rush, but he would throw off his back foot. It drove me crazy. Sometimes I didn't notice it though, but I look at the film, I'm like, what was that? Why didn't I fix that? But I don't say he's afraid of it, but not all the time. Right? But that's one sort of that goes hand in this. And then are they accurate? So with Colton, he's 6'6", and he throws I think he throws 95. Clearly a strong arm, but I mean he just couldn't get the ball in places sometimes. So sometimes occasionally he was super accurate, but he just wasn't. Now I get this. So he's a strong arm. I like a quarterback with a strong arm, and all of mine have, but in high school football, I just don't think that's a huge thing. Throwing motion, yeah. I think high school football is overrated. I don't think it needs to be pretty. I think they just need to be accurate. Can there be coverages? You can teach them all that. You can teach them that. Arm strength, not so much, but throwing motion and coverages. All right, so when I communicate with them, I just make sure that each year, right, that one, they own the huddle, and this is something we talked about earlier, like, shut up in the huddle. The quarterback's the one that talks. So he kind of has that natural leadership role. Brady's not really a natural leader. Eli was, Atticus really wasn't. But being in front of them, they end up being that way. The other thing that I talk about all the time is that there's no big plays, they're all big plays. There's no one play that's any bigger than the other, right? We lost to Portland this year on the last play, basically almost the last play of the game. That play is no more important than the one we did cover the guy earlier, right, when they got our first down. Like those things, because I know that some teams, and this team in particular, like they think some plays are better. I'm like, would you really try harder on one play than another? Why wouldn't you try your hardest on every play? So I hammer that home. So we have pressure situations, we're in 2-win situations. This year, actually in all 3 games we lost, we literally had the ball on the hands of the receivers in the end zone, right? The last plays of the game, last minute of the game. And I'm like, listen, have fun. Go to the huddle, I'm like, this is fun. This is why you lifted. This is what we did, right? Enjoy it, right? Football's fun. Touchdowns are fun. And I can tell you that Colton and Eli, of course, were my 2 best quarterbacks, and they had the most fun. They loved it all. They loved throwing touchdown passes. And so I'm always trying to emphasize that, right? And then we'll have some fun, you know, if it's a bad defensive scheme, they deserve to lose. Make sure we punish them. That's really well fun. But we'll talk about that so it sort of gets scheme in their head. I do talk about what their favorite plays are. You know, and I would say know what receiver they're most comfortable throwing to, because you're going to call a play that you think can go somewhere else, and they're going to throw it to that favorite receiver. So just be aware of that, right? And so, you know, I don't think I yelled at Brady once this year. Throw a pick, but he tried to make an excuse once, but I said no. You know, I didn't yell at him. I will say on occasion, Eli got yelled at because he was, I'll show you on the film, like, I think it's a hitch. He thinks it's a seam for a touchdown. So he unoccasionally would feel my wrath. But for the most part, honestly, I don't think it's effective. I don't think it's ever really improved quarterback. So I don't think there's anything groundbreaking here with our progression, right? When we install in preseason, it's all based on plays. We don't do the RPOs right away, right? I teach progression. So if we're doing air raid stuff, we'll do progression. So we'll do, hey, check the alert, right? Know the coverage, alert, stick, swing, right? That's progression. Throw them when they're open. And so I think that takes a lot of pressure off the quarterbacks. They just look at one guy, they look at the second guy, they look at whatever, third, fourth guy. Drop back is basically do the same thing, right? Identify the coverage. We really just sort of signal high or too high. We do look at this matchup. We've had some pretty good receivers the past few years. We had a kid named Teagan Pelletier, he's 6'6", and actually he transferred to St. Paul's in New Hampshire, but he just got offered at Penn. I think he's going to get offered at Yale, so he's a tight end. He was a big back. He played on Cooper Flagg's travel team, like he was basketball, and they just made a decision that they're focusing on football. So he's not playing AU anymore. He's one more year at St. Paul's, but he's headed that way. So we've had some really good receivers we can throw. You'll see him in the film. And then we've got another 6'4" kid that's not quite as good as him, but another one this year. He's a sophomore. So we've been spoiled a little bit, but those matchups we definitely look for. And then, if they're good enough, and I don't think it's that hard, but I'll show you how we set up some of these read things in practice. And I don't know, like I'll call it as read the defender or read green space, right? So sometimes I just read the area. So those go in progressively as we feel comfortable. And I say I don't have anything at 7-7. I forgot to put anything up, but 7-on-7, we do not try to win any 7-on-7, which is hard for me. But we're just trying to run. Really, like I would say, a quick pass game is a run game. I would like that, and we struggled at it this year, but that would be a priority. Just run stick and snap. Like those are the two plays that we run most. So here's I think something we do that's probably different. Nothing's really Monday. So what happens this is what I referred to the earlier. Not having the freshmen. It's an advantage for us, but that JV team, so we've got 30 kids on JV. So we probably send 16 of them, 17 of them to JV on Monday. So we've got 12, 13, 14 kids. There's just nothing to do. So we lift on Mondays, we watch the film. I don't spend a ton of time watching film. Usually we lift, right? And so Monday, nothing much happens here. So we went to, I don't know if you were with the Coach Hathaway in here, but we went to UNE, not this past year, the year before. And, of course, it's like any college practice. They had so much individual time. And I just feel like, especially kids I've had here today, and even the lobster, kids are super underdeveloped. And I don't know if it's just spring ball. I'll say, so I grew up in coached it, didn't have spring ball either. But so we decided that Tuesdays were strictly fundamentals. There's zero install on Tuesday. Now there are some sacrifices you have to make for that. Now early on, that's not the case. We've done this the past 2 years. So early on, one of the coaches I was under here at Oxford Hills, he would put new plays in on Thursday night, and kids didn't have any clue what they're doing. So I told the coaches, when I be the head coach, just punch me in the face and never put in a new play because of that. So we never, ever did. Well, when I do this, on occasion, there's something that I see later, missed something that I wouldn't say it's a new play, but maybe it's a new rep or something. So it does, there's some compromises. But what I found on this is that everyone gets reps. Everyone gets coached, right? And even all the JVs. And I don't know if you can, but we cannot get our twos. I'm probably not good enough coach to get a lot of reps for our twos. So our JVs really almost see no reps when it comes to team. I'm just trying to get my offensive line to do the right scheme and block the right guy. So we end up rarely being able to get, in preseason they do. In preseason everyone gets a ton of reps, but in regular season it just doesn't happen. But when we do this, everyone gets coached and everyone, I coach O-line, and I don't know, we usually have 15 guys right there. And we do this fundamental stuff. Now I will say, like, our drills are based on opponent scheme. So if we're running, you know, pin and pull versus a 50 front versus over a 40 front, that drill would be set up to address that defensive scheme, right? So it's not like we're ignoring that. But it's all on bags, right? And the other thing I would say, we're almost never in full pads anymore. Not this season, last season. You know, when you got really good players, it's a lot easier to coach. So we kind of went just uppers for the most part, just shorts. And it was great. And I can tell you, we don't condition either. We condition in preseason the first week. And after that, we don't condition. So when we do time here, I don't have conditioning time in. Now, of course, we'll get tired at times, but we don't. And I like to play both ways. So I do try to keep them fresher, and you know, try to keep them so they're not exhausted all the time. We do lift, so we go Thursday on the lights. So I'll send them over. We have a lift off campus at a gym real close with a strength coach. And so we lift on Mondays, we lift on Thursdays, and then the kids come over Thursday night on the lights. So you can see, like, we do all this. You know, there's one time that I looked over my skilled guys, and they're running full plays. And of course, we'll run half plays, you know, half thing. We'll do B's, that's right. But I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing. You are developing kids. You're learning, you're teaching them how to do reads, how to run routes, and be good football players. And then, of course, and we do specials too on Tuesday. And then you get your standard practice time. So you know, we try to do 20-minute specials. Sometimes it's 15. Thursday is just a run through. And then we got offense, defense. I will say, like, I really do try to keep to 2:15 in practice. On Thursdays, we might go over, depending, like, we'll do 2-minute drill, and they'll stay. We'll do it a few times. So here's just an example of a Tuesday practice, right? So you can disregard this. This is stuff on I just didn't erase it. So, you know, we start at 3. Kids come out early and stretch. And then here's my O-line stuff, right? So I'll pull the kick drill. And I should say, by the way, we only ran 3 plays this year. 3 run plays, basically. We ran pin and pull, and jet. Those 2 we blocked the exact same way. So I don't count, I mean, the backfield actions I don't care about. It's the O-line blocking schemes that really seems to limit what we can do. I had an incredible offensive line the year before, and I had 2 returning kids that are absolute dudes that put them in town. And my favorite play is power. Like, if I had to run one play, it would be power. And I didn't run it once this year. And that's not because I didn't like it, because it just wasn't, our guards were I don't know what they, 175 pounds this year. They were tiny, you know, as far as the point goes. And then we started to see a lot of pressure. I don't know if that was just a desperation thing we started to see last year. And we struggled to pick it up on that. So I said, let's go dart. So we pulled our tackles. I love counter trade too. We got rid of counter trade. And instead of running power, we ran duo. So we were duo, dart, and pin and pull. And those 3 plays, and that's what we hammered home every single week. Now, that doesn't mean we didn't run ISO. We threw in ISO versus 50s in particular. We run a couple other things, but those were the 3 plays. So when I pull the kick and pull the lead and come with the sled, and I have another drill we did that, you know, we're done. All those things were based on those plays versus whatever front we were doing. You know, so, and our goal is to get as many kids, as many reps as possible. And then, you know, I would say, like, these, I put these over here because I don't coach these, right? These come out, I mean, I'm the offensive coordinator, but I put suggestions like these are things we need to improve on. And I tell my assistants, get drills to make sure we know what we're doing. So they can design their time over here. And then, and you can't really see it, but I can see here. Sometimes they're together, like I'll put when they're going together, when the running backs on the O-line, that sort of thing. But like over here, you can see, this will lead into something else. Some of the things we did do with our quarterbacks to try and make life a little bit easier, and I scripted it so I knew what was happening. This is a little bit, I don't know if you can see, I didn't know how big this would be, but that's what it's easier to look at. So safety, right? And then you can see specials down here. this is our PAT, this is our punt. And so we've got, long snappers and things over there. I think this was playing Wyndham. I think this is not this year. All right, so this is the other thing. This is what we did for reads. This is other things I did for quarterback. So how do I get these quarterbacks to read things? So I scripted in huddle, and this is shallow, which is one of our base plays that I like to run. And I would say it's half field. So this is full field. But you put out the defense, right, and spots we think they're going to be. So this is half. We've got the corner, the safety, the backers, and anchor over here. So if I tell coach, hey, we're running number one, he shows the kids and tells them, you're going to cover the post, right? You're going to widen with the back. You're going to drop in the curl zone, right? So you're going to sit, and then you're going to drop back. And so when he goes here and he goes here and he sits and he covers the post, this area opens up and the quarterback is going to be there. And so this really I started to do with Elias. And he's pretty good. So there's 4 different ways to look at it, and we just repped it. I don't know how many minutes, 10 minutes, maybe even 15. We just ran these things over and over. And it wasn't the only one, right? We did wheel. And you can see, okay, we just set up this half line, half defense, and I said, okay, let's do 1, let's do 2, let's do 3. And so it was coordinated, and I knew what he was going to look at, I knew what he could look for, and I would say this was pretty helpful, right? It clearly is, with the stick and snag, you just put up one guy if you want to do it, right? Or progression, it doesn't really matter. So, I have on my sheet, which I printed this out for practice. Okay, first one, we're doing the post week. He's got to do the post. That's for the post sheet. So that was I felt that was very effective and built a lot of confidence with our quarterbacks. And then there were days, especially when we started the year, Eli, his senior year, he was just throwing open guys all the time. And I think you guys this isn't going to, when we play TA, they're not going to be that open. So I just throw an extra guy. And I don't want an extra guy in there confusing who we're blocking to whatever. So I would put them out there, and I would usually make them stationary. I might even put 2 guys and just make them stationary, and so the quarterback's going to throw into smaller and smaller games. So, and I run our quick game off of that. Like I said, we do progressions off of that, and then we do defender reads, and then we do kind of area reads. So the other thing I definitely try to do, and this, this was, I think out of desperation, my lineman can never remember who to block. I'm like, how can you? I don't understand. We don't run that many plays. I asked one kid this year, how many plays do we run? He's like, I don't know, a lot. We run 3 plays. We run 3 plays. How can you not? I know there's a couple different defenses. We only see 40s or 50s. It's not that we see that many. So anyways, I came up with a system. I got rid of all the numbers. And I would say my formations, it's a weak formation. Right? I don't know if it's the correct usage of the word. I just saw it and I'm going to call it weak. And it's where the H is away from the Z. So it's weak, right? It's just mine. But I'm like, oh, this is called weaker and weakly. So weaker is right, weakly is left. And then, okay, counter tray. So we're doing counter tray. It doesn't really matter, right? Starts with a C. So every play that starts with a C is a word. So if I go cola, the OL in it means the O line's pulling. So weaker, and I'm, cola left, cola right. So weaker, cola left. That's our play call. And it's nothing, but I try to get rid of the verbiage so it's easier to call. And I will say too, we could do a 2-minute just calling because these are nonsensical. They don't make any sense to anyone but us. We just yell cola, no one's gonna mean the kids can run it. But if I wanted to guard, it was called. And usually we had the H go. So if I wanted the quarterback, I put a K sound in it, so Coke, and in this case, Coca-Cola meant the O-line, and that was the only way we ran it. We only ran it with the Coke. The O-line pulled, right? And if I want RPO, and we are a big RPO, post-snap RPO team. So I would say that's our thing. Now, it doesn't always work. This year we didn't really because that wasn't Brady's thing, but we did put it in, and we did run it a bit. But I usually end up like, I don't know, I don't have a word RPO, so I just put pop on it. So anything, any word we have, pop if it's power, crop this way, drop if it's dart, right? So I think that simplifies things, it makes it easier, there's not a lot of verbiage. So I just think it makes it play faster, makes quarterbacks think less. So, this is our offense. We're spread, gap, scheme, run game, and our RPO. I really want to run the ball between tackles. Now, to be honest with you, the past couple of years, we've struggled with that a bit. But we're going to read post-snap RPOs. We do some free stuff too. And we have very passing concepts. So that just makes it a little more cohesive as far as the throwing game goes. And again, to be honest with you, my teams, if I had throwers, we were generally a little better. Right? They're just runners. So I don't ever want to be like just a pure air raid, just throw the ball team. But we've had a little more success with throwers than just base run game teams. So what we do is we prioritize, and so this next piece, we're watching film, we're going to watch everything. So I'll show you some like how did we adapt from one quarterback to the next with the same technique. Right, so we look at these quarterback strengths. So, Colton is this incredible athlete. We're running. He's our running back. And so we designed things. And at that point, these are the plays we ran. Power, iso, counter, trade, jet. So those are the ones we ran. And, we would do called plays with him, called run plays. We would also do read plays with him. I wasn't doing RPOs at the time, I didn't know about them, so we were doing them. And then with Atticus, he couldn't run. Right? He was just too small. I planned on running him senior year, but he was about 6 foot senior year. So we used RPOs, so we put that in, and he's very good at reading those. And you'll see how we use this ISO, which we every year I put an ISO. It's not one of our best plays, but we put an ISO. I said we ran for 3 plays, but ISO was the 4th. And you'll see how we use motion a little differently to help sort of attack weaknesses of what was going on. Now Elias, I honestly didn't do anything with Elias. We can talk about it at home either. He's in one, which is fine. But we started to do, he can get to his 4th read. We designed inside outside runs. He was by far my best running back. He might be the best running back I've had. We use a quick pass game, like a run game for us. So and I don't know, for some of you, if you're an OC and you're struggling and you're like, every down matters. So I can't throw on 1st down because I cannot be 2nd and 10. That was my mentality when we were not very good. And then I kind of like what Hathaway said last time. He said, hey, 2nd down, let's run your best play. So that's kind of the way we headed. I didn't really thought of it that way, but I would say that we started to be more aggressive on 1st down, right? Run great plays, and so that's what we did. We put in some stuff like we would call we would run duo. Duo was one of our plays, but it starts with D. The dart starts with D, so we could use it. So we called it wall, and then to help them out, so we run wall right. So we said weaker wall right, which is a 2x2 formation, and we call it wall right. And then I'm like, well, if they're aligned in one direction, we can just bubble the Z out to the left, and then we can, just do a pre-snap RPO with the hitch, and then why not just have the quarterback read the end? So I'm like, well, let's call it wall read. So we just called it weed. So weed right. And then, we would get in some games and we would just run that every play. No huddle, weed right, weed right. The quarterback would call weed left, but we try not to change formation and just run 4, 5, 6 times in a row. And Eli did a really nice job at it. He would definitely mix it up. Sometimes he screwed up, sometimes otherwise forgot they were running that play, but that was a good one. We did do no huddle. There was a time, we're a huddle team. There was a time we did hand signals, which I loved. I love hand signals. I think they're the best. It's just kind of expensive to put in, and so I did put it in with him. And we did some stuff, we did some verbiage stuff that my older son, Atticus, went to Brisbane Academy, he was under Rick, and I kind of stole some things from them. We used some words and things. So, that's kind of what we did. And then obviously, like his senior year, I was going to run Eli. And he got hurt in the second game. He had an ankle sprain. I thought he broke it. I was like, well, okay, that sucks. Change of plan. So he was only out he missed about 4 games. That game, and he came back in a game we played a little bit, sparingly. So we could change up in that year, but that's when to Brady, right? So with Brady, he definitely was limited. You'll see his reads. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about in the film. So when Eli got hurt his senior year, Brady went in, and we saw that Brady was a really accurate thrower. He was a super accurate kid. But he limited in-game experience. And so in that TA game, I just told him who he'd throw to. So I called the play, and I said, you'll see that it worked out because he's such an accurate thrower, but he's had a tough time reading. And actually worked all right. He had 72% completion rate. But what happens is when you get down the red zone, it's just not as obvious, and you really have to read it. And so his senior year, I didn't tell him all the time. And I didn't in the beginning because I wanted him to learn as we went. So he dropped down to about 58% completion rate. He's still really good, but it wasn't quite the same as when he's thrown to a different group of kids that year. All right, so this was sort of like what we did. Colton 6'6", QB run, right? Atticus 5'9", 145. Okay, he can throw, he's a strong arm. Actually, really good form. I was surprised when I went back and looked at the film. We were running back center. Eli, we could do whatever we want, and usually he was the one that ran as well. And then Brady, he was this focus of our offense. It was a pocket passer, QB center game, but we had a decent run game as well. All right, so here's Colt. So I'll put this up here, and I'll just show, like, we're not going to get crazy with this. I think I've got about 3 or 4 with him. I've got 3 or 4 with Atticus, just sort of showing the progression. Then with Eli, I'll show you some of what we meant by progression, of course, and what we meant by area, or man read and area read. Show some stuff extending plays that he did. So he'll have more, and then we'll end with Brady a little bit. So if you watch this play, this is just quarterback power. So this is actually dubs for us. We don't use that many formations either, by the way. We use 2 2x2 sets. We use a 3x1 set. We do have a 2-back set that we can use, and sometimes we go to if our H is injured, which has happened. But we're running quarterback power here, and you'll see. So the back's going on the end, we're pulling the guard, right? And then here he goes. You can see how athletic he is. And he's 6'6", and he was a stud. So here's our ISO scheme, right? Lead up, of course, it's great. Golden's gone touchdown. Now this is what we did with Colton in the reads, and I just told him to pull, right? So you see this little jerk, the pull, and that end crash down, right? You see this end? We saw this. He was flying inside, just pull the thing, everyone's going. And so those are things we did with Colton. So Atticus, so again, ISO is a good play for us. We couldn't run him. So, here's ISO with him, different group. This is the next year. Now we did a motion, we did deep motion, so we added that in. You can look, there's no one outside with him on that deep motion, and that's kind of what we thought was going to go on with it. So in this case, this is our RPO. It's a post-snap RPO. reads that in. We didn't block for everyone on the outside, but there's no one there. Right? When you look, there's no one out there. No one goes with them. And so the safety actually looks at the running back. And so, in ISO, we were able to run the same play, but RPO. And then what we did too with that motion is we ran rocket, which is back to triple option days. And then off of that, to help things out, a 5-9 quarterback, is we ran a play action pass off of it. And this quarterback down at the bottom of the field, he was a fitsy one, he didn't do. Right, and so we just got him on that rocket play action. So, we didn't abandon ISO, we didn't abandon spread, it's the same stuff. We just took and did some. And then of course, quick pass game, which is nothing. So you'll see this is called blue. You have 2 seams and 2 hitches. Nothing. But that's when we start installing that air raid-ish thing. Now Eli, Eli, we okay, what can we do with Elias? We got full fast stuff, we got design inside out, we run reads, installed that pre and post snap, we didn't know huddle, he got hurt, we had abandoned it. Now, in the state championship game, we did run it. And we did, we played Monte Eagle, I think it was 6-0 at half, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna run Eli. And then we ended up, I think we put 42 points up. It wasn't all him running, but it just added that other element. And I think we did. That was our halftime adjustment. And it was back and forth for quite a while. But that, that was, him running is a game changer. And then we did a little bit against Wyndham, and then he tweaked his ankle, and I'm like, you're never running again. Or excuse me. So here's, this is just snap. So you'll look over to the right, you're going to see Tegan Pelletier come in, just run a stick route, and that's the first guy open to us, so he throws to. Right? And you can see, why, how do we know it's a progression? Because this is the, you can see a better angle from, so if you look at the back of the backfield, like the read, there is no one covering this guy, right? But because it's a progression, he's thrown here. He doesn't look as open as he actually is in this thing, but that's a progression. So this one is stick, and so we're going to have our H run stick route in here. The back's going to be the flat. He's running the alert, and he's going vertical out here. And you'll see this is an area read. So this backer in the middle here is going out the edge. He's going to vacate, and you can see right there he reads that vacate, throws it to our H with the stick route. He was actually a Fitzy semifinalist as Eli's junior year, and he just was great finding space as an H. He looks like a guard. He plays for Castleton now. He's actually really good. He was an outstanding player. And in this one, we're running, it looks a lot like Snake, but it's really smash. He just kind of runs a little shallow. And you can see when Eli gets to, he's reading green, he's about to throw right here, right? And you can see this, right? But that corner is now inside with Tegan, he didn't really run a stick, he ran a hitch. And so he's going to throw that out to this green space. Eli's throwing that green space. He throws it early. Bridges ends up being quite a ways up there. So those are things that Eli was pretty good at doing. so here's our short, or this is our quick pass game. And this is just, we're running outs here and fades here. We just call it round. And Eli, here's the coverage. He's looking at the coverage. He sees his corner down. A couple safeties, right? So at this point, he's probably thinking too high. And also, he likes to throw deep, so he sees that, he sees him down, and throws over the top. This is his junior. All right, so this is the sort of thing that got Eli yelled at. So this is the first game of the year, and we're starting to see against Lewiston, like the corners are down, but what they were doing is they were pretty close, kind of in a man in the first down. And you'll see the corners drop, and it really gives us a lot of space to throw hitch. Well, I mean, we've got all hitch in there, but we call it blue, and it's hitches on the outside, seams down the middle. And so what Eli sees is single high. I see, these two drop, and he's wide open, and Eli throws that. Of course, went for a touchdown, so it's hard to yell at him, but I mean, that's what they like knowing quarterback. At this point, honestly, I had never coached the boys in League football coming up, so they were, I don't know what he was going to do. He's a gunslinger. So those are sort of things I had to pay attention to, like, I actually want you to throw the hitch. So here's single high correct read. All right, so we're running verts from trips. And he's reading as single high safety. And then this is our RPO game. So when we do this, it is really not that complicated. And really, I just think it's super effective. So we're going to run pin and pull. So he's going to come across. We're going to pull guys here. We're going to block the edge. And he's going to go on the route and replace that backer. So if that backer runs, that's the read. So you look at Eli. He's going to read that guy. And you see he runs, and so he's wide open off of them. And so this is just sort of, he sort of liked that. I don't know, he really likes the puzzle piece. This one, he also sends pressure off the edge. I don't know if he was smart enough to see pressure, or if he just saw a backer coming up. So he's going to throw to the right side of the end to Isaiah, that H back. I mean, Isaiah's a beast. He's good. Here's sort of our design run plays that we did with Eli and fake, and then come back. They didn't block that right. So again, we did that with Elias. We did that with Colton. We would have Eli read the end, so this one's DEN, and he pulls it out. This is duo, but we do enough ISO or power as well, so it reads the end and goes. I wasn't coaching this game, I was actually out being sick, but he pulled it. And then this one is an inside linebacker read. This is off pin and pull as well. So he's going to read, and it's easier from the end zone, but he's going to read that backer. You see he's going to fly over, and then that backer is coming from the blocking scheme, so he pulls it, 6-yard gain. And then, because of the way these guys played this, we told Eli he could read the outside linebacker. So he can read that guy there. He goes in, Eli pulls it, and then makes a run. So we would have him read different guys all over. I mean, he's the most coachable kid I've had. I just had to tell him once and he did it. So, you know, I don't know why. So this one we did much of rollout too. He actually broke more accurate on rollout than he was in the pocket. So we did a lot of rollout. And then here he is, you know, when we look at these things, extending plays, he's pretty big. And this is the state championship game, so he's a little more pocket passer here. This is sort of some plays we put in for Tegan. I will say that this play in particular, in all honesty, is sort of, I think this is what this particular group of seniors, like this is why we won state championship. Like they never gave up. Like if you watch the kid who got beat, he's also the kid that knocked the defender off of Eli. They just never stopped. The same with Tegan as receiver, he just kept going. And then this is, you can see he gets to his 4-3. So we've got down below, we're running a bubble here, running kind of a post here. He's supposed to run a post as well. So this is the side we're checking. This side was just sort of get him out of the way. We've never thrown there. I've never talked to him about it. This is the state championship game. So he checks this way, doesn't like it, and it's probably the best throw he's ever thrown. And he hits that 4-3. So, there's some things that he did. So we can talk about building confidence, but when we get to that point, we definitely could do it. Now Brady, what I learned with Brady was that he was really, really accurate thrower. And he did struggle a little bit getting reads off. You'll see he liked to pick one guy. We did, you'll see the first clip, like what I told him to throw to in the TA game. So when you played TA, our state championship, your second game of the year, I don't know, it was 110 degrees on the turf. It was terrible. And Eli got a high ankle sprain, and then my other kid, who was an absolute dude, got a concussion. And then my center, I don't know what he did to his side. I thought he was dying. He was out. I had that receiver that just caught that play. He was exhausted. He had to sit out. My long snapper, they got concussed on 2 kickoffs. So we were down, and I honestly think that because of all the reps that we had, that's the reason that Brady was able to do this and come in and run accurately. Oh, actually, this is a senior year, so that's not this one. This is just, he's gonna throw a smash, kid going in motion, he's gonna run a corner route, but Brady's gonna hit him in a pretty tight window. And this is the sort of thing that he typically did. This is an 80-yard touchdown. So, I mean, that's just nice. This is nice. So this is the play that I said, okay, listen, we're going to set up trips to the left, and we're going to run it. We notice there's no safety over here, right? It's way over. So we're going to run a post in the middle of the field. Well, I didn't really know. I didn't really think about him. They were doubling. So I said, just throw it to T. So we're going to run this throw. I think we're running flood on the left. Throw T in the post. So we did. And at this point, I thought, don't throw it to Tegan, right? But I told him to throw it to Tegan, so he was throwing it to Tegan, and then it does help to go to a Division I player, right? But he threw it the only place that Tegan could get it. Maybe Tegan was the only one that could get it. So this is another one. This is that same game. And this is I find this happens a lot with my quarterbacks too. If I make a suggestion like, hey, just check backside, just check to see if what does Tegan gonna look like when we motion? Let's see what their adjustment is. Well, he's staying, so he's running a slant, and I'm like, don't throw it there. I think we were running the snag on the other side. so he throws into a very, very small window. Right there. And I'm like, oh, he's pretty accurate. So this is where we sort of said, okay, we're just going to tell him where to throw it. And he really did a great job. And then you can see, when I'm talking about the reads, like he just wasn't reading a lot. He was just sort of picking the guy. Now it is nice to throw to T game. This is this year, so we have T. But this kid, you know, he didn't start till this year. He never came on the field for us. He did an incredible job. But he's not a superstar by any means, but I love him. I love coaching him. And he's just going to run a snag here, I think, instead. So he's going to run a stick. And you can see he is definitely covered. Like if he's reading, even progression, he should not be going. He should be going to the back and the front. But he decides to throw it to him, and he got it. But so, anyways, that's it. That's what we do. We adapt. You can see how we sort of adapt our game plans to those kids to make them maximize their strengths. So, you know, I would just say, get a scheme. You know, don't change your offense. Get a scheme, run it, and just adapt. So, that's it. Thanks for coming. Any questions? Let me know.